Now, before we go any further, I do want to thank you guys for liking, subscribing, disliking, commenting, and sharing with your friends all the videos so far. Of course, these things take quite a bit of time, and it's great to see that people are actually gravitating to it, enjoying them, and even providing some feedback. Now, in the future, again, we would love to get more feedback from you guys, suggestions and topics, reviews, and maybe things we might have missed as far as details and facts that, you know, maybe we just didn't catch on to. Now, on top of that, because of the 100 subscriptions, we were able to lock in the URL for youtube.com/the hip hop report. So make sure if you want to send some of your friends that are hip hop enthusiasts or people that just overall love following news, music, and artists of hip hop and its culture, to send them the link so they can go ahead and subscribe as well and continue to build the foundation for our community. Now, of course, what we're trying to reach is millions and millions and millions of viewers, but you gotta love the process if you're really trying to reach the goal. The new T.I. album, I think, sounds exactly what T.I. should sound like at this point of his career. He has made it a point through his TV shows, public persona, and his ability to mediate situations with the other artists and situations that he has matured in his, not only his artistry, but in his life and as a man, as a father of, I don't know how many kids he has now, but he has a lot of kids, and you don't get to have a lot of kids unless you have some sort of maturity and control about yourself. So even though to me he is the creator of trap music, you can check out that episode as one of the first 5 episodes that we ever recorded. I do think that T.I. has been a great example under the wing, of course, of like Jay-Z and other veterans that kind of showed him the ropes on how to develop as a man and as an artist moving further in his career. I think the album shows amazing maturity. He tackles topics that are very much relevant to him and people of his age group and demographic, but still relatable to a younger audience, because it's a great outlook for them to see that, hey, if you're in the trap, if you're in the hood, if you're in places that are not doing well and not getting help and not being able to rise above that, at least easily, he is somebody that you can look at and say, man, he went from the bottom all the way to the top and is still respected, still has a street credibility, and still puts out great albums that people love and gravitate to, regardless of whether they are now commercial successes or just fan successes. Because at the end of the day, the people that are going to be with you for, you know, the 20, 30 years after your fame comes and goes are the people you really want to value. And I think that's where artists like, new artists like MGK, Lil B, and all these other artists with somewhat cult followings do tend to thrive way past the point of the artist that has big singles or, you know, a huge popularity on the girl side or whatever the case is. They tend to actually have more longevity because their fan base is supporting them because they connect with them on a more personal level. Now, with that being said, another album that came out, Phora, artist from LA, extremely talented, really good rapper, and can sing, hit good melodies. I think his music is on the same wavelength as what Logic is doing, but like he's like on the other side of the mix table, and I think but it's weird because honestly his fan base, at least when I went, was pretty much an entire white crowd. Now that might be just here in Indiana. I don't know what his fans look like. I know he has a huge fan base in California, working with George Orozco and some other people that I know are plugging him into all sorts of fan bases, and I think he's really connecting with the not so cool kid, you know, trying to figure out life kid. A lot of these kids that are coming up that have, you know, anxiety and things like that, I think he connects with that crowd a lot, and he tends to create topics that are exceptionally touching and pull at your emotional strings. I mean, he did a show here in Indianapolis, the Emerson, and it was a Monday night. Something happened to the tour bus. It was like an hour and a half late, and the fans just sat there and waited for this man to get there and do his show. I've never seen anything like it, especially on a school night. You know, at this point, and doing those kind of venues, it's important to notice when fans gravitate towards an artist, how they gravitate and why they gravitate. Because some artists have fans that connect with you because you turn up. but that might not be relevant in 5 to 10 years. So you want to be at least aware enough to understand the difference between a fan that is connected to you emotionally, or a fan that is connected to you momentarily through the moment and through a lifestyle period, as opposed to somebody that will be with you through the long span of things. Now, moving Baby and Gunna project, Drip Harder is fire. Although I do think that after a while, you're just listening to the same song over and over and over again. I mean, in all actuality, the album sounds like Young Thug featuring Young Thug with a couple Young Thug features. And as much as I do enjoy it, I think Drip Too Hard is fire. Whoever did that production, I need to look that up. We need to credit that person, because that beat is crazy, crazy, ridiculous. Not only that, but I really do like the visual. I think the visual gives it a very artsy, not ratchet, higher class kind of like look to the record, and I think even it sounds polished on that level. While most of the rest of the record is along the same wavelength, I think the video was a great selection to move forward with the album to the next phase of promoting those artists to reach higher plateaus. Whereas a artist like maybe Young Dolph hasn't been able to break through, even though he has great loyal fans, he hasn't been able to really reach that commercialized state. And so where Young Thug maybe wasn't able to reach a higher level, maybe these artists, because they have that same sound, are able to elevate themselves past where Young Thug was at. And where I guess a lot of times that's where the necessity comes for a certain artist with a certain sound that delivers a certain kind of content. Now, speaking of artists with tons and tons and tons of content, we're talking Tekashi 6ix9ine. He's got his new single called Stupid. That's 2 O's, and Ebro is still not rocking with it. I understand his position now, because now they've been back and forth for months and months and months. Let me double check this camera, make sure we still booming. We still booming. So, I mean, I understand the sentiment. At this point, neither one of them is going to budge. No one's going to let the pride down. No one's going to allow the other one to get the upper hand and say, you know what, this is stupid. Let's support each other and figure it out, because there's been way too much disrespect up to this point. However, what I will say is that Ebro, as a tastemaker, as somebody who is supposed to feed the people what they want, because theory goes, if on-air personalities were able to just play what they want and not what the people wanted, then essentially we would get more local support. But imagine all my people that always complain about, oh, this city doesn't support me, blah blah, like that happens across the whole country. So everyone from across the country that is, you know, an artist or whatever and feels like their city doesn't support them, imagine being a local artist, which Tekashi is, to New York, and having not the biggest record in the city, but having dropped some of the biggest records in the country, being 10 for 10 on Billboard, and your local station still won't play you. Your local station still won't book you for their festivals and for their events, even though the people are rocking with you and want to see you there, even though they're playing those records at those festivals. And they're seeing the reaction. They're seeing what's happening. If you guys didn't know, the Made in America festival with Jay-Z was the first time that Tekashi was booked for a festival inside the United States borderlines, which is insane considering the run that he's having. Whether he's going to be here in another 2 years or whether he's not, the fact is right now 6ix9ine is the guy that's somehow creating enough buzz and enough loyal of a fan base that they're rocking with him. Every record and everything he drops is shooting up the charts. And at some point, Ebro is going to have to set his pride aside and say, I have to be the bigger man as the OG and squash this so we can build. Because otherwise, you look like a hater. You look like you're just like stopping this guy's flow because he hurt your feelings. And he might have. But we all know that feelings are not a part of this business. And if they are, maybe you're in the wrong business. But we know that's not true, Ebro. You do a good job. Now, guys, XXX Estate is preparing a post-death. I was gonna say the word, but I'm not gonna say the word because I'm gonna mess it up. Pothmith album from XXX. I'm actually excited to hear this. I think XXX was his career just like Tupac's was. Sorry for comparing it, but I have to. Where like I think a lot of the projects after a while from Tupac, people were like not interested anymore. But if you guys think about it, there was like, Are You Still Down? There was a lot of records after his death that actually did very well and were great records. So I'm excited to see what XXX had in the vault. Essentially, that's what we're going to get for probably about as long as they're able to keep pumping this stuff out. And, I don't think anything ill of that. I think it's a great thing for them to be able to do as a family. You have to think XXX is the breadwinner of the family, and without him, you're just depleting unless you can figure out a way to generate some revenue, which I think they're going to be able to do that with this. But one just hopes that the people behind the music are there for the music and to give the people what they want, which honestly at this point I think it can be anything from the sky to the sun to the water to the moon, because XXX didn't really have a lot of boxing in to do. He was pretty diverse. He could sing, he could rap, and he could do a lot of different things that people didn't even get a chance to hear and see on a grand scheme of things. So with that being said, guys, also Odell Beckham did a interview. This isn't even about music, but Lil Wayne was there. Nobody knows why Lil Wayne was there. If I can tell Odell Beckham anything, is that if you've never watched this man's disposition, you know there's no reason why Lil Wayne should ever sit in your interview. Now they throw Eli Manning under the bus, and Lil Wayne is just nodding away, and it's hilarious. I don't know why it was so funny, but I did enjoy it. We wanted to address the LMI thing. I think it's important for us to understand that with business evolving and changing and progressing into its next phase of how it's going to function, specifically with sales, the new sale is now streams, and streams are taking over. So people are going to become more uptight and I guess aka snitch if they feel that you are digging into their pockets. Now what I personally feel LMI and her team should have actually done is generated a remix that was official and they put it out within that, and then you could capitalize off taking the Jacquees and LMI video, posting it on LMI's YouTube, and then dragging over, essentially bringing over all the fans of Jacquees, which he has a lot of fans and a great following now, much more than I would have ever expected maybe like a year ago or 2 years ago, when we didn't know where Cash Money was going to land, what they were going to do with this artist or that artist. But with that being said, guys, I would have took it, did an official remix, put that out. You could still get all the money for whatever he generated on YouTube, which in the grand scheme of things is going to be fucking nothing. And in the process of all that, then prep a video that can go on her YouTube channel, then bringing in all his fans. And I just think overall, man, I think in that situation, when something's succeeding, it's best to try to merge than to try to stop. And if you're able to merge, which I'm sure that they would have been super down to do that, and who knows, maybe Mustard Production is what Jacquees needs to come out and really establish a sound that is going to hit in the clubs and the radio, which we all know is where he needs to be. Now again, guys, thank you so much for all your subscriptions. We're at about 102 now, and of course we're shooting for millions. So while I am super happy and appreciative of this first milestone of the show, I want to keep this thing going. So now that we have the URL www.youtube.com/TheHipHopReport, you're more than welcome to send that link to friends, families, nephews, relatives, dogs, cats, whatever you feel is needed to get these messages out to people and people that follow hip-hop, for us to be able to connect with them on a higher ground for higher hip-hop and better times. With that being said, guys, Rambo Hustle with the Hip Hop Report. If you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, make sure you go ahead and do that. Peace, love, hip-hop. Woo!